Welcome to the Veteran Action Update Brief. I'm Mark Lucas, the founder of Veteran Action. Our guest is Kurt Schlichter, a senior columnist for Town Hall and author of the novel American Apocalypse, the Second American Civil War. Kurt was a member of the same National Guard unit that's currently mobilized in Los Angeles. He's also an attorney that can shed light on President Trump's authority to federalize the National Guard. Kurt, can you tell us about your experience with the 79th Infantry Brigade Combat Team and their capabilities to restore order in Los Angeles?
I sure can, Mark. Thanks for having me. I spent a lot of time in the 79th. I was a battalion command or a squadron commander for the cavalry unit, first the 18th Cav, that's part of the brigade. Then after getting promoted, I became the deputy commander. Every once in a while, acting as acting commander. It's an interesting unit. It has a Puerto Rican now, since I retired 10 years ago. But now it has a Puerto Rican infantry battalion, but it's got two battalions here in California, plus line infantry companies, or I'm sorry, line infantry battalions. It's also got the cavalry squadron. Judging from the equipment and patches I've seen from these guys, most of them are 79th. I was very happy. Of course, I was looking at with colonel's eye, looking at the guys going, okay, are they in uniform? Are they smoking and joking? What's the military bearing? Let's look at their load bearing gear. Does it look like it was just handed out and stitched together for this mission, or does it look like it's been lived in? How are they handling their weapons? Are they flagging each other? What's going on? Are they smoking and joking? Do we have hands in pockets, or do we have NCOs out there doing what's right? The footage I've seen is pretty impressive. Saw a company commander out there at the front with his guys, right where he belongs. The troops look good. They sat there and just stared back at Maxine Waters when she came up and belittled them. They haven't been violent. They haven't been aggressive. They look like solid soldiers. I was very happy to see it. I was also entertained when the governor of my great state of California decided to sound off at a picture of these guys lying on cement floors catching some Z's. And I'm thinking, obviously you've never been in the military, because they got a roof. It's dry. There's no mud. I mean, I spent 6 months in the desert. My roommate was a scorpion. I mean, it's not, it's hilarious watching them kind of, the troops are being abused. The troops are not being abused. That's ridiculous. I know the brigade commander currently because he was one of my staff officers. And the guy who's running around most now is their S4, who's no doubt got directions. I want cots. I want sleeping pads. I want silver bullets of coffee. I want this. I want that. Make it happen, Major. So that guy's, a lot of the troops look like they're doing a lot of standing point security, but I bet you those S4 loggies are running their tails off, as it should be. So I'm very proud of our folks.
Your op-ed in Town Hall is some of the best analysis I've seen on the LA riots. You tell your readers that this is not a kinetic operation, but instead an information operation. Can you break that down for us?
Certainly. I was out in the LA riots. I was at the 3rd Battalion, 160th Infantry in beautiful Inglewood during the riots. If you know LA's layout, Inglewood's gotten a lot nicer. Was not nice in 1992, and I had to drive into it when it was on fire, and I didn't have a gun. It was quite a thing. We went out on the street, and we were kinetic. We were directly applying force to cause the desired effect. It was helped because most of my troops at 3rd of the 160th lived in the area of the riots. And I got to tell you, Mark, those dudes had no use for the gangbangers, druggies, looters, and scumbags. We cleared up things, but quick and decisively. This is entirely different. 92 was widespread. There were fire and looting over miles and miles and miles. This is a small number of incidents, mostly downtown. Nobody lives down there except a few urban pioneers, a lot of bums, and as a lawyer, you have to go down there because that's where the courthouses are. But there's also some incidents out in some of the outlying towns that are heavily illegal alien. Other than that, if you're a normal LA person, you're not experiencing this. I'm in the South Bay of Los Angeles, south of the airport, out by the beach. Oh, none of that stuff's happening here. Not that the rich liberals who I live around would allow it to happen. They call the cops in a heartbeat. They may have a "hate has no home here" sign in their front yard, but they're not actually going to have any hate anywhere near their home. That's for poor people. But it is this is designed to show, or was designed to show, that Donald Trump has provoked this whirlwind of violence. The regime media is helping pumping it out because, by showing the relatively small amount of damage. We've all seen the same photographs again and again. Some of them are very evocative. You get criminals jumping on burning cars, waving the garbage flag of their terrible homelands. But it is really just information operation by which they attempt to change the narrative and convince us to make Donald Trump back down, thereby humiliating him and preventing the deportation of the millions of illegal aliens who have infiltrated into our country. Interestingly, Donald Trump may be the best communicator we've ever had as president. And I was here when Reagan was president. It is, he understands exactly what's going on. He understands exactly the dilemma that the radicals want to put people in. Okay, now understand, the Democrat Party and the rioters, while they're not directly linked, there's a lot of indirect connections, and they share exactly the same objectives. Okay? So you have a government here that really wants them to succeed. It just doesn't want to be embarrassed by looking powerless. Trump understands this. The purpose of this information operation is to convince normal people that, oh my gosh, the only way we can be safe and secure is to submit to the violence and intimidation and force Donald Trump not to continue to do what he was elected to do. Donald Trump understands that. Donald Trump understands that the only way to win that fight is to provide a plausible alternative that people can embrace. That is to show power. So he mobilizes the 79th IBCT. He mobilizes Marines. Now, they're not out breaking heads. They're doing point security. But normal people see, oh, the Army's coming. The Marines are coming. I have an alternative. I can side with Donald Trump because he's resisting. And that's really all it takes. These guys have a glass jaw, Mark. They have a glass jaw. And they've not met anyone who actually takes them at their word anymore and stands up to them. I think Trump realizes some of his mistakes from 2020. One of those was basically saying, I'm going to solve this if you won't. Wait a minute. Violence on the street is not the federal government's problem to solve. That's Gavin Newsom's problem. And if you'll notice, all the fighting and conflict is between rioters and Gavin Newsom's forces, cops, sheriffs, CHP. It's Gavin Newsom who looks powerless. This has been a disaster for them. They thought they were going to run an information operation with the aid of the regime media, and Trump has used the regime media against them because the regime media cannot help but highlight great pictures, like the guy on the motorcycle with the Mexican flag. And of course, I put that on X, follow me at Kurt Schlichter, and compared it to Trump's picture under the flag, American flag, and said, choose your, America, time to choose. What a message. I mean, 15 million people saw that. But that's really the imagery choice. And the regime media cannot help it because it's a great picture. Yeah, they want to help Trump. Yeah, they're going to soft pedal. It's mostly peaceful. But they can't not show a picture of fire and chaos. They can't not do it. Trump understands communications better than the people who are trying to fight a communications war. So, yes, this is an information operation, and it's been a detailed defeat. I think what we're going to see over the next few days is this fade out because it's not getting them the result they want.
And
So
speaking of
I'm
Governor
pretty excited.
Newsom, he's desperately tried to legally stop President Trump from activating the military. You being a former deputy commander of the IBCT that's being mobilized, and you with your legal experience, can you explain why Trump has the authority to respond?
Well, my legal experience also includes publishing the first law review article on military support to civilian operations. I've been doing this for a long time. And that's why I know when you get these commentators out there start talking about posse comitatus, it's really an IQ test because they don't understand it. Not a lot of people do. Posse comitatus is a statute that says you can't, no official will use military forces to enforce civilian law. It's a Reconstruction era thing because people were, local officials were using Union occupation forces to go fight the KKK. So it's actually it was a law to prevent that. That the Democrats insisted on as they came back into American politics. So it's really, you want a racist law, posse comitatus is, a racist law, at least in its roots. Posse comitatus, it does not limit the president's actions if he does certain things. He can have the military directly do law enforcement by citing the Insurrection Act, which is what he cited for the LA or what President George H.W. Bush cited for the LA riots. We, in fact, were out enforcing the law. We could arrest people, do those other things. This time, he didn't do it under the Insurrection Act because he doesn't want them enforcing law. President Trump wants the locals to have to enforce law. He wants to make it their problem, not his. So he brought it up under a different section under Title 10, which allows the president to bring military forces in to when federal law enforcement is being interfered with. And he's just having them guard buildings. And if you notice, when you see, sometimes you'll see lines of infantrymen, even with those, shields, there's always cops behind them. Okay? They may knock a guy on his fourth point of contact, but it's the cops who are going to swoop him up. And this actually frees federal law enforcement to go out and do federal law enforcement things. And of course, one of the beauties of this, all this stuff is planned, all this stuff is logistically and administratively supported. This is why all these riots look the same everywhere, and they always just tend to sprout up because there are networks of people who fund them and coordinate them and support them administratively and logistically. Well, they've had to expose themselves. And now we have a Department of Justice that's more interested in enforcing the law than keeping moms from keeping perverts from hassling their children in elementary schools. So now I think we're going to see some in-depth investigations. I think we are going to see see the mapping of these networks. And of course, the last 20, 30 years have been nothing but Americans overseas, learning how to map enemy networks, right? We're going to put that same knowledge to work here, and they're going to figure out these guys. And if you get somebody crossing state lines to do something illegal or violating myriad other laws, well, they're going to get federal beefs, and that's beautiful. So this is a comprehensive information win for Donald Trump. Every one of these arrests is also part of the information fight. When there was some dude who was throwing bricks at an ICE vehicle, they put him on the most wanted list. Of course, there are like 3 FBI shows on CBS that millions of Americans watch. This guy's on the most wanted list. Millions of Americans are going, oh, he must be a really bad guy. What a huge information win. This is in terms of pure law enforcement, in terms of pure politics, in terms of information warfare. This is an absolute disaster for the left.
And Kurt, you've been a major reason why President Trump is winning this information warfare because of the posts that you're putting out, because of your experience with this National Guard unit, your legal experience. So thank you, Kurt Schlichter, for everything that you're doing and for joining the Veteran Action Update Brief.
Well, I appreciate it, but I'm not doing anything. It's those troops. As always, it's the troops out there who are making the difference. I'm a colonel. I didn't do nothing. I just stood there with a cup of coffee, standing by Sergeant Major, and I am keeping that. I'm still doing that today.
Well, thank you very much.